Okay guys, so you might have to excuse it getting a bit dark in here because I'm at home, like home, not at uni, so I don't have any lights. But I'm going to film a video that I have been meaning to film for ages, and that is my getting into vet school video. So this is going to be really brief because it's kind of like pretty much self-explanatory. There are very like set things that you have to do to get into vet school, and I'm just going to talk about some of them. So starters, your grades for GCSEs, you need to have about an A to a B in most of your subjects with an A in science and maths. They also like you to do quite well in languages for some reason. Then for your A-levels you need to have 3 A's for most vet schools in biology, chemistry and another subject. For places like Cambridge and I believe Edinburgh, the grades are a bit higher, so Edinburgh's A star AA and then Cambridge is A star A star A, and that has to be in 3 sciences. And then alongside your A-levels and your GCSEs you need to be doing extracurricular stuff. So I did the Duke of Edinburgh, I volunteered at nursing homes, I did musical instruments and sports. So you need to do stuff like that because they look at how well-rounded of a person you are, and it gives you a bit more to write about in your personal statement and skills that apply to being a vet, like teamwork, communication. So next is the personal statement. You write this when you're in sixth form. For vet med it's a bit different to other personal statements where you just pick a bit of the course that where you just kind of pick an area of the course that you're a bit interested in. For vet school you have to write about the work experience you've done and specific examples of what you've learnt from the work experience you did. You can also include a bit about the extracurricular stuff you do and how this has contributed to making you a person that is a good applicant for vet school. So work experience wise you have to do 6 to 8 weeks minimum for most vet schools. Liverpool want 12 weeks and I think Cambridge accept 4. I did 8 weeks work experience and I did 4 in a vet practice and 4 with animals, and I'd also mentioned that I had worked with animals my whole life on the farm and with horses. So all that goes in your personal statement, along with why you want to be a vet, why you think you'd be a good candidate to be a vet, stuff you've learnt around being a vet. If you want me to do a more in-depth personal statement video, I can try and find my old personal statement and go through it because I actually had quite a lot of help when I made mine from the school that I was at. So another thing I did before applying to vet school is I did the BMAT. So that is the Biomedical Aptitude Test, or the British Medical Aptitude Test, I'm not really sure. And this is basically an MCQ test with 3 sections and then an essay section. So I just went at it and guessed all the MCQs and wrote a really good essay, and how you're marked is you end up somewhere on the bell curve. I ended up like on the descending limb somewhere and I got an A in my essay, which meant that I did well. And this is a requirement for I believe Cambridge and RVC. So because I did that BMAT test I was able to apply to the RVC. Some things you want to be careful about when you are applying is a lot of vet schools have secondary forms that you have to fill in. So the RVC has a secondary form that myself and the other girl from my school that were applying almost missed, and we caught it on the last day. Apparently a lot of people missed it that year, so they opened up the deadline, but there is a deadline on these extra forms and it tends to be I think a few weeks after you send in your actual application. So the application deadline is around the 14th of October for vet med, dentistry, medicine and Oxbridge. So you have to be prepared over the summer and really get your personal statement done. And because of this, your predicted grades are also really important. So when you're choosing which vet school to apply to, you're only allowed to apply to 4 out of 8 in England, and there's also the one in Ireland. You kind of want to go to the place, you want to get a feel of the place, you want to look at which vet course will suit you. So some are more traditional and more focused on a certain species. So Cambridge is very traditional, it's very research based, whereas places like Surrey, Nottingham are very like new and they've got a lot of skills based stuff and they're very practical focused. So it really does depend on where you go, what type of course. Obviously everyone graduates as a vet and everyone's RCVS accredited, so they'll be day 1 competent, but the focus of teaching can be different and the style of teaching can be different. So Surrey is like a spiral curriculum where you like learn as you go through. I think Liverpool is as well. I preferred Surrey over RVC because Surrey is a campus university and that's the kind of environment I wanted to live in. And I lived on campus in first year, which was great. I didn't want to live in a city and I wasn't too keen on living in London because I just thought it might be a bit too much city for me. So yeah, you kind of do just want to go off the vibe that uni gives you in general. And as like wishy-washy as it sounds, it really is like the best way to do it. Kind of try and forget about the reputation of the uni because if I had thought that, I would have gone to RVC. I'm 10 times happier at Surrey than I would have been at the RVC. So after I sent out my applications, I got interview offers from RVC and Surrey. If you get into a vet school, every vet school will give interviews, and the two schools that I got into, RVC and Surrey, they do multiple mini interviews, which are 5 to 6 stations where you spend 5 to 10 minutes on each station and you rotate through them, and you have different skills, different scenarios. These could be like ethical conundrums, and you rotate around with other students in the room. So like they asked us an ethical question on kidney transplants in cats, and you have to basically formulate a response based on your personal opinions, your personal experience, anything you've learned from work experience, and anything you know from the topics you're doing at A-level. Nothing they ask you here should be beyond what you'd learn in A-level. I did get asked a question about PCR before we learnt PCR, but it was still in the A-level syllabus, but definitely is worth having a flick forward in your A-level syllabus just to like familiarise yourself with some of the content, because they might ask you a question that is a bit beyond what you've currently done in the first year of A-levels. RVC also had a group session where we had a group discussion on what skills are most important for a day one vet, and we had to rank these, and I'd say the most important thing for the group discussion was to make sure that you're including other people in the group discussion, you were being a balanced part of the group and not domineering the whole group and not hiding away in the shadows. You had to definitely be like a balanced part of the group. And I'd say the most important thing for the actual interview is to just be confident, be calm, and be yourself. They don't want you to know everything, they don't want you to be the brainiest person they've ever interviewed. They want you to show your personality, they want to show that you're confident and that you aren't afraid to make an opinion or a statement based on the information you have, and you can formulate a response to the questions they're asking you, and that you're doing it thoughtfully. If you go in a bag of nerves, they will know and they will not like you. So try and just like calm yourself down. It's just an interview at the end of the day. It's not like the biggest deal in the world. I know that when you do it, it can seem like the biggest deal. Like my RVC interview, I was very nervous. I thought it went bad, but it didn't. And then because I got my offer for RVC before I had my interview for Surrey, I wasn't too bad, like feeling too bad about the Surrey one, so I was less nervous. Other universities will have a sit-down interview session, so I put a link down below into how to do sit-down interviews, because I honestly can't speak about this because I've never done a sit-down interview, and it varies depending on which uni you are applying to. Then all you really have to do after you get accepted is to work really, really hard for your A-levels and get your grades. And that's basically it. I have a video on how to revise, or how I revised for my A-levels and now revise at uni. If you want to check that out, then I'll have links to all of the vet school pages on applying in the description down below. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry about the lighting, sorry it's a bit dark. I hope this was helpful. If you want me to go into greater depth on any of the things, then let me know and I will.